your stroke rate the same and increase your stroke length, and you will go faster. Keep your stroke length the same and increase your stroke rate, and you will go faster. Increasing your stroke rate is not only the easier of the two, but also probably the one that has the greatest potential for improvement.
Increasing your stroke rate is only going to make you swim faster if you maintain your stroke length. Now, slight caveat on this, if your stroke is very long, then you can afford to take off a little bit from that as long as you are making significant gains with your stroke rate. I mean, the perfect stroke is, after all, a fine balance.
Cool. So we've established you here because you want to learn how to up that stroke rate. Stroke rate is the number of individual strokes you take in a 60-second period. That is each individual stroke, so 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Obviously, that's pretty hard to count for 60 seconds, but you can just check your smartwatch after your last swim. I checked my app recently from my last swims, and my stroke rate was quite surprising. I might be honest with you at the end of this video and share exactly what my stroke rate was. No judging, but I think there's probably some room for improvement.
I hesitate to use the word normal. I mean, what even is that? But let's start by taking a look at the pros. If we look at some of the top-level sprinters, they can hit a stroke rate as high as 150 strokes per minute. Quite mind-blowing. But let's be realistic here. If you're watching this, you're probably not a sprinter and you're probably not a pro. A little bit closer to home, we can look at the open water swimmers. Now, the pros will be hitting around 80 to 90 strokes per minute, and then triathletes sit just beneath that. And you'll notice that there's a bit of a trend here, that the slower the pace, the slower the stroke rate, within reason, that is. So where does that leave us? I mean, we can obviously all aspire to be like the pros, but in reality, we need to start by looking at ourselves and looking at what our current stroke rate is, and then focusing on improving that.
If you don't have a smartwatch like mine that measures your stroke rate for you, or you want an accurate number so you can compare how much you're improving as you work on this, you probably want to calculate your stroke rate yourself. It's easiest if you just get someone to measure your stroke rate for a 15-second period in the middle of a lane, in between the two walls. You then multiply this by 4 and you've got your stroke rate. It's important that you do a warm-up before to make sure that you are actually swimming at your normal stroke rate and not warming up into it. You can, of course, once you've worked this out, compare it to your smartwatch number to make sure that you know how much your tumble turns are taking off your average stroke rate as you work on it.
You know what stroke rate is, we know what the pros do, and you know how to calculate yours. So what now? Well, knowing the pro stroke rate is one thing, but it's probably not really going to help us. Most of us will benefit from improving our stroke rate, but by how much? Well, stroke rate for every swimmer is different. It's like a sweet spot. You will have a unique number that is best for you. And there's a way to find it out using something called a ramp test. To do this, you're going to need some sort of tempo trainer that you can adjust the timings of the beeps, and ideally a coach or a friend on poolside who can record your times and add your data to that. Now, to start, you want to take your current stroke rate and actually put the tempo trainer to beep at 10 strokes per minute slower than that. So do a 50-meter swim at a time, taking 20 seconds rest between each. Note your stroke rate, record your time and the strokes taken, and perceived effort out of 10. Keep upping the stroke rate by about 3 strokes per minute until you reach 15 or so above your normal strokes per minute. Now, the key is when you're doing this session to just try not to think about it at all. It's sometimes easier said than done, but you'll have plenty of time to crunch the numbers and do the maths afterwards. Now, you're looking for that sweet spot, so that is going to be the stroke rate number that your times are obviously increasing or are quickest at, but yet your perceived effort isn't getting more, or is it maybe plateaued? Sometimes it can be a really obvious number where you just see that like really good spike in your time, but not too much more effort. Sometimes it can be a bit more of a range, but you can sit down and look at this and it'll give you a real guide of where your stroke rate is and how much, if anything, it needs to be improved.
So if you worked out that you need to increase your stroke rate, how do you do it? Well, we're about to tell you. If you worked out that you don't need to, well, I guess you could just skip to the end. First up, the water polo drill. Try swimming the water polo drill, that is swimming with your whole head out of the water with a slow stroke rate. it's pretty much impossible. Swimming with your head out the water is a good way to practice that higher stroke rate. Any pause or stop in your stroke that slows you down will cause your head to sink and you'll struggle with this drill.
Put your hands into a fist shape and swim front crawl. Now, the act of decreasing the surface area of your forearm and your hands is going to enable your arm to go through the water more easily with less resistance and therefore quicker, naturally leading to a faster stroke rate. Think of it as the opposite to putting paddles on.
When you've only got one arm to think about, it's easier to change the tempo without worrying about how it fits into the other arm and the rest of your stroke and your stroke rotation, etc. So you can play with the tempo of that single arm and find what fits best.
Taking your legs out of the equation will naturally increase the stroke rate. You're removing the propulsion as well as removing the limiting factor on the rhythm of the 2, 4 or 6 beat kick.
Put it all back together and work on your desired stroke rate with the help of a tempo trainer. If you do have one of these, you may want to set it just slightly higher than your current stroke rate rather than all the way up at your desired stroke rate and slowly build it up over time.
If you guys are still with us, I think it's only fair that we share our personal stroke rates. Now, no judging here on this channel. Before we do ours, please share yours in the comment section below. Now, mine is on the slower side. I'm kind of blaming the fact I do most of my swimming open water at the moment, and I do kind of just go and relax, but it's sitting at about 60 strokes per minute.
It's pretty low. Although mine in a race recently was only 66, so not much better. I think we both have some room for improvement. A note on this though, much like cadence in cycling, if you go lower, you're kind of straining muscles a little bit more and relieving the aerobic system, and vice versa. If you go for a higher stroke rate or a higher cadence on the bike, you're straining your aerobic system a little bit more and taking a bit of the strain off the muscles. So bear that in mind as you try and change your stroke rate. You may be breathing a little bit harder and working your aerobic system a little bit more. But generally, for triathletes, that's not such a bad thing. If you've enjoyed this video, hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe while you're down there in the comment section, leaving us your stroke rate, which I bet is higher than ours.